Been in Mitzarm today and try to get into this a little bit. The last time, and I have to admit that I haven't been able to do this, I just try to work this into our schedule. We saw that the Kabbalists are saying that you should say Tikkun Chatzot at midday, at noontime, afternoon. So, and they gave a reason for it. They said because this is when the Puranos really began. So it's like nip it in the bud or sweeten it as fast as you can. So just reading, so I guess just to give us a little start here, on number bet on page Yud Test, it says Minhag Tov Kasher, who Ma'od L'Kol Bal Nefesh L'Shavas Ba'velus Achrei Chatzos Hayom L'Kol Elu Hayom B'Liv Chos B'Chia. So the next word, Mamish Al Churban Abayis. So let's go down to the bottom where we have the Shefa Kavonos here, and let's look at number Dalet. Number Dalet says, V'liv Chos, Hine B'Seder HaAmira Shal Tikkun Chatzot B'Chatzos Alayla. So we know about that. Azai B'Drash Tikkun Chatzot Sidr Maruchu Lomer Rak B'Sukim U'Mizmorim. So I'm not sure what he means by that, but let's see what he says. So he says Amnam B'Sidurim Ashkenazim. So he says that all that we have is Pesukim, certain Pesukim, I guess, from Tanakh, and Mizmorim, which is Psalms. Amnam B'Sidurim Ashkenazim Nidfasu Od Chamesh Kinos. There's 5 more lamentations that are put in there. The Omrem Be'ez Tikkun Chatzot, to say them at the time of Tikkun Chatzot. Now that's talking about Tikkun Chatzot Alayla. V'hein tosfos or tosefos shenasa shenosva meucher yoser. So that's really recently put into the liturgy. V'chein meikar hadin ein hayom laomram. So that during the daytime ein chiyuv laomram. You don't really have to say them. They're added on for. He's going to explain. Sagi lomer as a mizmorim lachud. You could just say the Psalms. There are 10 Psalms between Tikkun Rachel and Tikkun Leah. As Mizmorim L'chud, V'achem B'sidure Edus and Mizrach Lo Nidv'zucha B'kinas Halodus. So therefore, the Mizrach is always a little simpler. Achein L'gabecha B'miris Tikkun Chatzos B'chatzos Hayom. So therefore, that's at nighttime. But he says, let's talk about what about the daytime. So this is something that we need to institute during this time is to get a chance after midday to do Tikkun Chatzot. But he says K'bachem L'gabe Amiras Tikkun Chatzot B'chatzos Hayom D'mei Bein HaMitzarim. During this time between Bein HaMitzarim, he said he Mitzarim He Necha Kashinadayg B'Divrei Rav Kan. So you look carefully at what the Rav says here. Nizkar Rak Inyan Achiyuv Livchosa L'Churban. That's basically what he says. He says it's the obligation is only to cry for the Churban. But he doesn't say you have to say Tikkun Chatzot. Now he's talking about, let me just make sure if I forgot what I was saying. He says, so in this one, so maybe you don't have to say the whole thing, you just have to reflect on it and to cry for it. But it doesn't say that. O Seder Acher, or another order. You don't really have to do that during your daytime Chatzos Amira. The Chachiyuv who Rak Livchos al the Churban. Elokevin Shalastam and Nashim Kasha Hulaora Bechia Loshi Amr Davar Ma Amaorum Lakach. Now, so this is something that is, I guess, it's difficult for me to picture that, and I'm trying to think he's talking about it, that you have to be able to picture in your mind all the things that are going on or have gone on, maybe even going on at this time. V'chein Tiknu Lomer Seder Tikkun Chatzos. So therefore we have this. So therefore we have the order Tikkun Chatzos. This is what it says. If you could cry over it, Yesh lomer shesage bekach. V'chein mitzanda shekasav v'chidah, so the chidah writes like this, Shenagul lomer tikkun rachel, that he would say during this time, tikkun rachel, kadesh yihyech besuder, lomer davach hashavah l'kol nefesh, so he could say something everybody could use. V'zech v'yesh lomer, the mahai time and nagul kulum, lomer gam as hakinos and itfasa, so therefore maybe you should also be saying the kinos that goes along, the lamentations that go along with it, even those that you don't, so I'm a little lost as to which ones those would be, but he says even those that you would normally not say during at midnight. And so because what's really trying to get to at this time, it's really to arouse our availers. Shazman Garmalakach, because that's the time now that really causes to happen. So also the Mukubalim also had this custom too. Kevin Shukal a mattress, so he wants this. They want us to be aroused. So this reason the Kaf HaChaim writes, the Gam B'Shnas HaShmita, even at the time of Shemitah, She'ein Omrim Tikkun Rachel, because it's a fact that maybe I didn't know, that we don't say Tikkun Rachel during the year of Shemitah. B'Shnas HaShmita, She'ein Omrim Tikkun Rachel B'Tikkun Chatzot Shalalayla, because then we don't do it. So the question is, what about the daytime? So he said, Mikol Makom B'Tikkun Chatzot She'omrim B'Chatzos Hayom, that one, B'mei Beina Mitzarim, Yesh La'omra. Kevin Shahatam She'ein Omrim Osa. What's the reason why we don't say it B'Shnas Shemitah? Hu Machba She'ein Yerida Shal Rachel L'Bria B'Shmitah, because now this is a fact, I just don't know this fact, that She'ein Yerida Shal Rachel L'Bria B'Shmitah, during the Shemitah year, Rachel doesn't go into Galus. It's interesting. It was got to be more svara for that. Why do we say tikkun rachel then? Who you read is rachel the bria? It's because rachel is now going down into bria. Which is not the case when you come to the daytime. Now, rachel's not going into bria at this time. Shachatam la'omar hu machbos shehem yemei avelos al korban. That's why we start the avelos at the midday part. Azai kevin shachav avelos al korban noe gam b'shnas of shmita. So therefore, when you have avelos, there's avelos also at the time of the shmita. Shafir yesh lomer tikkun rachel. So you can say tikkun rachel then. Let's go down to I want to do number Hey next, so let's go to on page Kaf. Let's read. I don't think we got this far. I don't know, but we'll read anyway. Number Hey on this page. Ve'ini chatzos alayla ein sark lahaskiro. That you don't have to mention that. Why? Kafila b'kol shar halelu sark lis'avel al korban, because even all the rest of the nights you have to be misavel on the korban. Now let's see what he said here, the korban. So there you have to do it even more. So he said, so for sure you should be doing that, he says. So we're going to have a drush, I think, over here in Tikkun Chatzot. So certainly like right here. So then he goes going on with number Vav. He says, "V'olav ne'emer samchu as Yushalayim kolim isavlim alah." So this idea we've probably heard before. He says, "Kol ha'makoinin," of those who will lament and mourn ala churban, zocha v'rucha b'simchas ha'geula, k'moshe darsachas chazal, like the rabbi is saying, ala pasas simchu as Yushalayim v'gilucha b'ba, and rejoice in her. Kol ohovecha, all those who love her, sisu ata, So you're enjoying. See to asa masos call him all those who mourn for her. Those are the ones that will rejoice. Mikan Amra, so here it says like this, Kal Amis Adol al Yerushalayim Zocha v'rocha b'simchasim will see her joy. V'she'enim Mis Adol al Yerushalayim, but if you don't care, Ein rocha b'simchasim. You won't see that simcha. Let's go to number Zion now. Number Zion says, he says, V'gam tzarek li zocha v'dehimona mela'achol b'yomim mahem shum pri chodesh. And we know this from the Shulchan Aruch. V'shelo lo shum levush chodesh, k'dei shelo yitztarek levarach alav v'bercha she'achayanu. V'moshe nazgir inyan zecha b'sifrech ha'poskim achronim, so that od mimin hagir avelos ha'noagim, he says, b'yamim elu, shelo levarach berchas she'achayanu, al perish b'gadim chadashim. V'okein yesh l'yimoneh Mela'achol pri chodesh, or l'vush beged chodesh b'yamim halalu. Okay, so we probably know some of that. Let's look over here at number Hey in the Shefa Bavanos. And he says like this. He says, Gam tzarek lizoher, b'agos b'urim kan, he says, W'huva b'mesuras Bavanos. Kasa b'shem Marachu shelo choya oichul basa b'shos yayim gam lo choya mistafer. So also he didn't take a haircut. V'yud Zayin b'Tamuz from the 17th ad mitzvah Tisha B'av. Rabbi Shmuel v'tag Kasa Shan. So he writes on this. Who asbacha b'meichel b'tis paras, but he himself was lenient with himself in regards to taking a haircut. And that is, of course, like the Shittas of the Mechaber and the Or Chaim, he says over there, She'oser rak b'shvul shechal bo Tisha B'av. There he said that it's only aser on that week of Tisha B'av. Aval b'baza v'yayim v'machmel aser. And mishum shehu remez the bitl hakarbanos, because in some way that this is a remez of the karbanos and of the sachet, v'hu kashitas a kol kolbo, and Bavura b'Shulchan Aruch, which is brought over there. So I think we're still reading here number Vav. So he says you have to be careful. Mela'achol b'yamim mahu shum pri chodesh v'shelo lilvu shum levush chodesh k'dei shelo yitztarek levarach alav v'bercha she'achayanu. So this what does she'achayanu say? The she'achayanu is a lashon bringing life into yourself. She'achayanu bringing something new or something chodesh. So let's see, Bebercha Yosef, he says over there, Adaika v'divrich harav kan, the hakfede he shelo la'achol v'lilvosh, k'dei shelo yitztarek levarach alav. So the idea is not to eat anything and not to, so you don't have to make a bracha on it. But for whatever reason, it's dark la'achol. So that's what would that be? Go shabbatos beirach birchas a priest. So that, for example, he just picked up a new fruit and he made a bracha bar pri eitz on it. But tzarek la'ochel mechshash birchas lebatal bracha lebatalo. Azai vaday sheyivarach shehachiyanu. So in that case, if he did it by accident, he should say shehachiyanu to figure if fishing it out, I guess. So he says, so this is goes against what we saw over there in the Pri Eitz Chaim. He said, "Shapam achas choyiv boim gedolei gador." So the elders of the generation, or a bunch of the rabbis, al the sod al shulchano shal marachol. They came to eat by the marachol. They came to visit him. And so they urged him to eat a pri chodesh. And of course, this is talking about B'mei Beit HaMitzarim. Below bracha shachiyanu, he ate it, but he didn't make the bracha, the shachiyanu. So that should be a raya. Therefore, even if you eat it, you don't make a shachiyanu. So the show holds like that. Because otherwise it's it's contradicting what the Maruch says here, because of the Ein Anu Yodim Kol Pratiham and Maisa. So the question is really what happened over there. We don't know all the parts of what happened. What was the situation? He talks about that. What he wrote about that. So let me see if there's a little bit more here. Number 7 was, let's look at number Zion here, like we're at over here. I don't know if we read that or not, but here it is. Many poskim hold, and he said, for example, in the Or Chaim, he says, and he gives the site references, and he says the Mishnah Berurah. Let's go on. Hetira levarach bircha shehechiyanu b'shavasas became the Rosh Chodesh. There they say it's mutter to make the shehechiyanu at those different times. Achein kama poskim, many poskim. So the Kaf Chaim, etc. That also those who make it mutter to do this on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, Shari the Varak Rak al Pri Chodesh. So there you should have a bracha only on the Pri Chodesh of the Lo al Beget Chodesh. So there's a difference. So even though those poskim, I don't know what the psak is, I guess you would know. The psak is, he says, those who hold that you can, only with regards to a pre. That it's forbidden to do it on those days anyway. Okay, we have a couple more minutes. Let's see a little bit more here. He says, we're right here on number Tes. There must have been a number Ches here. So let's look at number Ches down below. Gam tzar l'kaven kavonus elu ba'amida b'kol hayomim mahem. So I think, oh, that's number Ches is in a different place. Okay, I got it now. Okay, so kavonus birchos habracha b'rishona brachos rishonos the ramida b'mei beina mitzarim. So we go into the area that trying to get this together. Gam tzar l'kaven kavonus elu ba'amida. So you have to have these ideas in all of these days. And we're going to get into this. When you get to the Havaya of Berchos Avos, that is the Havaya Rishona, the Kavin Shetoyer Zu HaHavaya Al Tamurasa. I'm reading across the top. I forgot to read it down below. As to Murasas, you have to switch it to a switch name. To switch it to the right, to the letters that are before it. So this is this name Tad. So I don't know whether we should pronounce it or not. So I think we've been here before, I think. So let's look at that would be number Ches down below in the Shefa, and we'll try to do this one. Gam sorry the kaven kavonas elu b'hamida b'kol hayomim mahem. He writes b'pri eitz chaim. What do we find there? Kodem shemei v'echa b'chas kavonas alon kos of v'zel l'shana. He writes, and this is what he quotes. He said, "Ine beina mitzarim lihiyosos chana ma'od." This is a time of tremendous chana. Shekatev Merivi sholet behem. So I looked up Shekatev Merivi. Says it's a shade. It's a kind of a shade. Something like that. It's a shlit at that time. So therefore, the idea is you have to make this switch, move everything to a safer place. In order to be able to do that, okay, so I guess we'll stop right here. Kol Tov, Thank you.